Once you've started getting the hang of how to do a basic quack and a basic hail call, the next thing you can start working on is what is considered feeding chuckles. Now, the interesting part about feeding chuckles is they're not always used for feeding. You can hear them when they're flying. It's used to communicate a bunch of different things. I'm not going to go into that right now. My goal here is just to show you how to replicate those sounds, and then you can go on to learn exactly when they're doing that, and then learn how to implement that in your actual calling sequences that you're doing when you're out in the woods hunting. So I use the same call I've been using. There's a lot of different things I've heard people say as far as how to form the sounds. We're going to still build the back pressure the same way. It's just like you're going to get punched in the gut like that. You build up that pressure. I'm backing it up and stopping it with my tongue. I'm using the foundation of kick. So if you think of kick, where the K sound is formed when your tongue hits the roof of your mouth, the kick, that's what I'm using to seal off the air and control it. And I'm going to use that exact same thing when I'm doing a feeding chuckle, except I'm actually going to move the tip of my tongue a little bit more. So there's two variants of this. One is a more true feeding chuckle. The other one is not really a feeding chuckle. You hear it more in flight, but a lot of folks will call it a feeding chuckle. So there's two variants of this. The word we're going to say to form the sound and to learn how to use our tongue, instead of kick, we're going to say dig. You could also say sick. It doesn't really matter, but that's basically what I'm doing. I usually will modulate between dig and sick as I'm making the sound, because if you listen to a bird that's actually feeding, there's quite a bit of modulation in both the cadence and the tonality of the sound. And so I try to replicate that as much as possible. So the way that you hold the call, it's the same way where you do the pinch, those two come back around, and then these two are for modulation. And I am going to use the modulation on this because that's key. Then you put the call in your mouth the exact same way that you did before. Just like that. Except now we're going to go dig, 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 dig. Or you can go sick, 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 dig, 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 dig. Now here's the thing, some calls are going to respond better if you actually vocalize with this versus if you just go sick. Because if you go sick with no vocalization or dig, well, yeah, I guess sick probably works better with no vocalization. So sick, 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 sick. Not all calls are going to respond well to that. Some calls I will put a lot of voice in. That's where I came up with the idea of saying dig, because you go dig, 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 dig. Watch. Literally just going. I'm just putting dig after. I'm just dig, 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 dig. So I'm starting with the tip of my tongue, because dig, the D sound is usually made with the tip of your tongue. I'm just going dig, 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 dig. And if you want to squeal your call, I know some guys like to kind of squeal it sometimes in that. You just add a little bit more pressure, but restrict it with your tongue. Don't let it come all the way off, and that'll help to squeal the call. So just, I'm just going with the tip of my tongue. So just like sick, but instead of going sick, I'm going sick. I'm really loading it up hard, and that squeals the call. Okay, now I've just been holding my opening here the same. When you do this, you should be modulating it. And that's going to allow you to sound like multiple ducks, but it also makes it sound like you're moving around, which ducks who are feeding are generally going to be moving. So That's the basic idea. Not much to it in principle. However, it takes a lot of practice because you have to develop the tongue speed to be able to do that. But the good news is, don't pay attention to the competition callers on this one because they're there to win a competition. I've heard a lot of ducks in the marsh, in the woods, wherever I'm hunting, they don't always go that fast, especially if you're talking about one duck. And the thing you got to remember about competition calling, sometimes you're trying to sound like an entire flock of ducks on the water. When you're actually out hunting, you may not want to sound like a bunch of ducks. You may want to sound like just one duck feeding. And if you pay attention when you're out, it's not a lot. Sometimes it's just and that's it. And I probably went even long of what a lot of times they might do. A lot of times it only lasts maybe 1 to 3 seconds of that, and it's just intermittent. So if you're not fast, don't worry about it. It doesn't mean that you're not sounding realistic. It actually might mean that you're able to sound realistic. And then as you go faster and you can modulate better, now you can sound like more ducks feeding all at once. You can build up more excitement, and that definitely can be an advantage when you're trying to call in more ducks. I'm Aaron with Roost Marine. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all our other videos, and I'll see you on the next one.